Hello, my name is Jon, and today we'll be reading Emmanuel Swedenborg, Revelations about the Spirit World, edited by myself, Jon Brooker. This is Emmanuel Swedenborg's home in Sweden. He once predicted, before it actually happened, the burning of Copenhagen. He wrote many books revealing the secrets of heaven. The most important of his books was called Heaven and Hell. Emmanuel Swedenborg lived from 1688 to 1772. He was a renowned scientist whose spiritual senses were awakened. He began a systematic investigation of the spirit world and discovered many of its secrets. Page 357, Divine Principle. As soon as we arrive in the other life, we are all recognized by our friends and relatives, and by people we have known in one way or another. I have heard many people who had just come from the world overjoyed to see their friends again, and their friends overjoyed that they had arrived. Almost all who come into the next life think that hell is the same for everyone, and heaven is the same for everyone, when in reality there are unlimited variations in either case. Hell is never exactly the same for one person as for another, nor is heaven, just as there is never one person, spirit or angel, who is exactly the same as another. Worship does not consist in prayers and in external devotion, but in a life of kindness. God condemns no one to hell, but instead lifts us all toward heaven, to the degree that we will follow along. The nature of heaven is to provide a place there for all who lead good lives, no matter what their religion may be. When we die, we simply move from one world into another. Let anyone who wants to be happy know and believe that he will live after death. Let him think about it and remember it, for it is the truth. This I can declare: things that are in heaven are more real than things that are in the world. Angels from the Lord lead and protect us, and this every moment of a moment. Each of us is a spirit. This means that the spiritual world is right where we are, not distant from us in the least. As far as the deeper levels of our minds are concerned, we are all in that world, surrounded by angels and spirits there. People who die and are buried do not die, but pass from a life that is dark and dim into one that is sharp and clear. Death is merely a continuation and perfection of life. Look at a silkworm or a bee or some other little creature and examine it, first physically, then rationally, and finally spiritually. If you can think deeply, you will be stunned at everything. If you listen to the inner voice of wisdom, you will exclaim in amazement, "Can anyone fail to see divinity here?" These are the marks of divine wisdom. When someone's body can no longer perform its functions in the natural world, then we say the person has died. The person, though, has not died at all. We are only separated from the physical nature that was useful to us in this world. The essential person is still alive. I say that the essential person is still alive because we are not people, because of our bodies, but because of our spirits. After death, kindred souls gravitate toward each other spontaneously, as it were, for with each other they feel as if they are with their own family at home. When they are with kindred souls, they enjoy the fullest freedom and find life totally delightful. The deeper we look, the more wondrous are the things we run into. When we move from this physical world into the spirit world, which happens when we die, then we leave behind outward appearances along with our bodies, but keep the inner qualities that were hidden away in our spirits. Immediately after death, children go into heaven and are placed under the care of angel women who, while living in the world, had tenderly loved little children. When anyone in the spirit world is thinking about someone else because of a desire to see her or him, that other person is immediately present. They see each other face to face. In this physical world, the same thing is happening in the feelings and thoughts of our spirits. In the spirit world, the world every person comes into after death, no one asks what your faith was or what your doctrine was, but what was your life like? Everything good or true that the angels inspire in us is the Lord's. So the Lord is constantly talking to us. He talks very differently, though, to one person than to another. When the eyes of our spirit are open, things that are in the spirit world appear to us just as clearly as things that are in the physical world. Our death is not the extinction of our life, but a continuation of it. Death is just a transition. When we die, we simply move from one world into another. Those who know how to share love are constantly advancing into the springtime of their youth in heaven, and the more millennia they live, the more joyful and happy that springtime is. Emmanuel, Swedenborg, Secrets of Heaven. Our natural form differs markedly from our spiritual form. I have seen that in some people who were lovely and attractive in physical appearance, that inner form was misshapen, black, and grotesque, what you would call an image of hell rather than of heaven. While in some who were not beautiful, the inner form was graceful, radiant, and angelic. After death, our spirit looks the way it actually did within the body, while we were living in it in this world. The Lord cannot rescue any of us from our hell unless we see that we are in it and want to be rescued from the divine providence. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body. C.S. Lewis. Butterflies playing with their partners in the air, feeding on the nectar and flowers, represented our blessed state in the breezes of heaven after we, like caterpillars, have shed our old skin. From Emmanuel, Swedenborg, True Christianity, Volume 2. After death, it means nothing any more whether people in this world were of high rank and lived in a mansion and walked around with an entourage, or lived in a hut and were waited on by a child. It does not matter if they were an archbishop who wore a scarlet robe and a two-tiered tiara, or a shepherd tending a few sheep in the woods. What is on the outside derives its value from what is on the inside, and not the other way around. True Christianity, Volume 2. I can say this quite definitely, that a spirit has far keener eyesight than a person has in the body, as well as far keener hearing. A spirit also has, and this fact will astonish people, the sense of smell, and especially the sense of touch. For spirits can see one another, hear one another, and touch one another. From the Secrets of Heaven. Those who have died travel along pathways that are open between communities in heaven until they find a community that is in complete harmony with the feelings in their hearts. There they are among their own people, who are like relatives and friends that they love with all their heart, because they share the same passions. There they experience a happiness that makes them most alive, and their hearts fills with delight because their soul is at peace. True Christianity, Volume 2. It is very beautiful over there. Thomas Edison, last words. From eyewitness experience of many years now, I can pass on to you that just as in the physical world, in the spirit world there are land masses, plains and valleys, mountains and hills, springs and streams. There are parks and gardens, woods and forests. To put it briefly, that world contains every single thing that exists in the physical world, although in heaven those things are immensely more perfect. True Christianity, Volume 2. In fact, though we are still human beings after we die, as we used to in the world we see, hear, and speak, as we used to in the world we walk, run, and sit, as we used to in the world we lie down, sleep, and wake up, as we used to in the world we eat and drink, as we used to in the world we enjoy making love to our spouse. Briefly put, we are still human in every way. There is no adequate way to describe God except in terms of pure love, and so in terms of pure mercy toward the whole human race. That mercy is His desire to save everyone, to make everyone happy forever, and to give us everything He has. Anyone who is willing to follow is someone He wishes to draw to heaven out of pure mercy by the powerful force of love. Secrets of Heaven, Volume 2. In heaven, people actually speak directly from their thought, so that we have their kind of thoughtful speech or audible thought from heaven and hell. Souls after death see their own parents, children, and friends, and experience from this an innermost gladness. Journal of Spiritual Experiences by Emmanuel, Swedenborg. Angels are stunned when they hear that there are people who credit everything to nature and nothing to the divine, as well as people who believe that their bodies, in which so many wonders of heaven are gathered, are fashioned out of nature, and even that this is the source of our rational capacity. On the contrary, if people would just raise their minds a little, they could see that things like this come from the divine and not from nature, and that nature was created simply to clothe the spiritual and responsively represented on the lowest level of the design. They compare such people to owls, which see in darkness, but see nothing in the light. Heaven and Hell. The essence of spiritual love is to do good to others for their own sake and not for ours. We can see this clearly in the love mothers have for their little ones. An atmosphere of innocence flows into little children and through them into their parents. Innocence and peace are the two innermost elements of heaven. The sphere of divine love which pervades the universe especially affects parents, from which it is that they tenderly love their children who are outside of themselves, that they want to be one with them, and they want from themselves to bless them. When goodness flows into the outer person from the inner person, it causes beauty. Kindness is as the heat in the spring or summer which makes the grass, plants, and trees grow. Love opens the paths and leads us to our kindred spirits. God is the absolute reality underlying everything. Kindness is an inner desire that makes us want to do good things even if we do not get anything in return. It is the joy of our life to do them. The deeper we look, the more wondrous are the things we run into. When we die, we simply move from one world into another. In the world you shall have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. John 16:33, from Jesus of Nazareth. Love combined with friendship continues on after the wedding and is strengthened, a friendship which differs greatly from that of any other love because it is a full one. Love wants to be loved. This is its inner instinct. To the extent that it is loved in return, it is filled with pleasure. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. 1 Corinthians 13th chapter, verses 4 through 7. A cheerful heart is good medicine. Proverbs 17:22. Heaven is where the Lord is recognized, trusted, and loved. The different ways he is worshipped do not cause harm but bring benefit, because they are a source of heaven's perfection. In the Christian world, it is doctrine that differentiates churches. Doctrine is the basis on which people call themselves Roman Catholic, Lutheran, Calvinist. These names grow out of doctrine alone, which would never happen if we considered love to the Lord and charity for our neighbor the chief concern of faith. If we did this, those distinctions would simply be differences of opinion on the mysteries of faith. True Christians would leave such issues up to the individual and the individual's conscience. In their hearts they would say, a person who lives as a Christian, who lives as the Lord teaches, is a real Christian. One church would come out of all the different churches, and all disagreement due to doctrine alone would vanish. Even the hatred of one denomination for another would melt away in a moment, and the Lord's kingdom would come on earth. Emmanuel, Swedenborg, Secrets of Heaven. And finally, beginning in the 20th century, the medical community began to notice similarities between the accounts of Swedenborg concerning the afterlife and the experiences of those who were revived after their heart had stopped. Among hundreds and then later thousands of witness accounts, the experience of these people shared common traits which eventually became known as near-death experience. Raymond Moody, a psychologist and medical doctor who first coined the term for NDE, noted that similar to these accounts, Swedenborg described death as a pulling away from the physical body, followed by encounters with departed ones, and a life review drawn from the person's memory. Most notably, many of these witnesses describe encountering a supreme being of light, or a light at the end of a tunnel, which Swedenborg had also described as a son of heaven, in which the Lord resided. This video is a production of the School of the White Crane, and my name is Jon Brooker. You can reach me through commentary on this video, or through my Gmail listed here. Please share this video with family and friends, and on social media. May God richly bless you.